Tuesday's here. How we all doing? You have some energy out there? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. We got our technical stuff. Tuesday's here. How we all doing?
You spoke too
Energy
soon.
out there? Can you hear me? There we go. Get rid of that. A little echo in there. Well, I'm ready. I'm excited. I got a great workout in here. I got my coffee going. Gonna have a good show today. Anybody have anything in particular? Who got a win maybe? We get an offer accepted over the weekend. Maybe we can talk kind of through what might have happened, especially if you had something unique going on. Anybody get something accepted? It'd be just good to chat through. We can get right into my social share that I had from yesterday, which is really interesting and just a good way to kind of break down how I think you guys should be thinking about this stuff. So let me see if I can get this teed up for you to share. You guys seeing my screen? Somebody give me a thumbs up. We're seeing the share. All right, beautiful. And for those of you who are on the Zoom live, there are two versions of me. One, you're just going to see me speaking into a mic, and one, you're going to see my screen share. You're going to want to pin the one that is my screen share, but you should see a jacked gentleman with a school shirt on. This is Mr. Alex Hermosi. I got a chance to hear Alex live, and I followed him online quite a bit. Just an individual who kind of came from nothing, was down to his last couple of dollars, built up a gym business, actually. Still takes his physical fitness pretty seriously, but basically shared his journey of building the gym business. What did he do on social media? What did he do for reaching out, etc., and has turned it into a business. So he sold the gym business and now is an investor in other people's small businesses. But his way of building his social media presence is just by giving stuff away for free online, sharing and teaching what worked for him in building his businesses. So what I wanted to play for you is the next video. Hopefully it'll be the next slide, which is Sharon interviewing Alex about how he did what he did. So let's see if we can take a listen, and hopefully you guys hear the audio.
Agents one piece of advice related to brand.
You guys hear that audio when I share it? We're good.
And content, something like they could write and put on a sticky note in front of their computer. What would be something that you would say?
This is going to be a little bit aggressive, but that's kind of my vibe, is that violence is the answer. It's just brute force. If your expectation is that nothing will be given to you, and that anything that is given or any lucky break that you do get is exactly that, which is a lucky break, but you expect that you're going to be the one who's going to have to force every single thing that you want in your life into existence, I think you'll be significantly better positioned to win. My personal brand has been absolutely built with violence. It has not been like this. People are like, oh yeah, it's blew up. I'm like, yeah, I also made 35,000 videos. Around, the 12,000th video, if someone's like, oh, this is working, it's like, yeah, this was forced into existence through will.
If you could give the real estate agents one piece of advice related to
We cannot hear you right now.
We lost you, Steve.
Yeah, I'm back. I gotta fix one thing here, though. All right. I wanted to share that because it's a kind of the story of what I've done. Like, I don't feel like I've had any magic bullets. I've just been aggressive for 20 years. And I know people don't want to hear that that's what it takes, but that's what it takes. You just got to be day in, day out, not amazing at anything. Just show up every day. And it's no matter what part of your life that you're working on, right? Whether it's business and you're just every day making a few phone calls, sending a few texts, reaching out, or it's your relationship, just trying to be a little bit better husband every single day. Never been a great husband, never saying I know it all, but just trying to be a little bit better every day, trying to learn every single day. It's just been brute force for me But I've never used that term. It's just been violence, right? But that's kind of what it's been, just day in, day out of just trying to get that 1% better. And the problem is you don't see the results in real time. You don't see yourself becoming a better father, a better husband, a better real estate agent, right? But I promise you, if you're doing the work every single day, you can look back in a year or 2 years or 4 years and go, man, I'm actually pretty decent at this. So I don't know, just we get a lot of agents that struggle out of the gate. Man, I'm putting in the reps, I'm not getting the results. You've been putting in the reps for so little time. And we've had agents that, they don't sell anything for 6 months and then they're selling 2 houses a month. So I don't know. This was what I was going to share yesterday when Linda kind of came out with her. We met these people 2 years ago or whatever it was. Like, that's the business. You just don't know when this stuff is going to come back around. So I don't know. What are we thinking? I'd love to hear from somebody that can kind of speak to that's been me and I'm here and believe what Steve's saying, or you know what, I'm in the rut. I feel like I'm putting in the reps and I'm not getting the results. Martin.
I feel like like those deals that just go super smooth, they're great, but you don't appreciate them. Were the ones where you have to fight for something, you appreciate it more. If that makes any sense. Like the stuff you grind for, you just appreciate more at the end of the day because you put in the reps, you did everything, and you see the results.
I mean, to me, there's almost, let's put it this way. I've been doing a lot with the brain and the dopamine and how we perceive happiness or, excitement, etc. If somebody were to hand you the deal, maybe that excitement lasts a day. You earn that deal, maybe it's a week or a month, right? So just that good feeling lasts a little bit longer. But remember, all of it fades. All of it fades away. It doesn't matter how big the goal is or how big the prize is, it's gone in an instant. That instant, again, it could be a day, a week, a month, but no matter what, so we got to be, where I'm trying to get, we got to be very careful with like goals and achievement. Because I promise you, if you think about or think back to any kind of goal that you've set and then you hit it, how long did the high last? It doesn't last very long. You got the new car. How cool was it to have the new car and for how long? Until it's just 4 tires that are getting you around. So, and this is why we talk about really trying to enjoy the journey, enjoy what you're doing every day, because you're never going to make it. You're never going to get something and just, oh my God, I've arrived. It's, for the experienced agents on the call or just the more experienced older people in general, somebody chime in with what you're thinking, what you're hearing, because I think this is a reality, especially for the younger generations, of understanding doesn't matter what you get. It's never going to solve any problems. Linda.
Yes. So, Jeffrey and I really experienced this big time, about a year and a half ago when we finally broke made the decision that, yes, we're moving to Florida. And it was very, very hard to leave our business that we had worked so hard to build in Naperville for several years. So when we came down, our database was literally my mom, my sister, and my aunt. And you can only sell them so many homes, right? So, we basically were starting from scratch again. And it was a very dry season when I say we were not thriving in real estate. And it was all about the grind. It was all about putting in the reps. And every day just didn't seem to be producing anything. And so we really had to stay focused on what we were doing, why we were doing it, and having faith that if we do the work, it's going to start producing fruit. And you really have to almost have a visualization in your mind of planting seeds in the ground, nurturing, watering, fertilizing every single day, doing everything that needs to happen for those seeds to grow, to help stay grounded in the fact that you have to have faith, right? And faith is belief in the things that have not yet been seen. That's what it is, right? And so, and the way that I really approached it so that we could stay happy was to stay grounded in gratitude every single day. Get up first thing in the morning, get out my gratitude journal, and look at all of the amazing blessings of our life. If you start with the right mindset, and that being one of gratitude for all of the beautiful gifts that have been bestowed upon you, and they are everywhere, then you can stay on top of the dry season. But you have to be very intentional about it. Otherwise, it is easy to get discouraged and feel like, well, I'm putting in all of these hours and we're not seeing fruit. Right. And so you have to do the things that are healthy and helpful. Go to the gym, do your workouts, do the things that are good for your body, do the things that maybe just like going to the gym, you do, your reps. You don't come out looking like you're going to be on the cover of the fitness magazine today. And it's one of those things that's tough for us because we are in this society that wants instant gratification. Everything is at our fingertips. If you don't have the computer giving you every answer you want in 2.3 seconds, you're like, oh my God, what's wrong with this machine? You know what I mean? So you really have to be so hyper intentional about staying focused on what you are doing and having faith that it's going to produce fruit if you do the right things consistently over time, and just do it and stay grounded in gratitude for all that you have. That's what gets you. And now this year, Jeff and I are having a beautiful year and in abundance, because we had that season of planting.
Yeah, that's why I just say you got to enjoy this job. If you don't, right, when it's grinding, like for me, grinding was, okay, I just got to go out and do a few more things, right? I got to just, at the gym today, I'm going to have to just be a little bit more social. I'm going to have to talk to one or two people when I go to the gym. And then I'm going to have to get into another group, right? Maybe I'm going to have to go join a, running club or a book club or a yoga class right? So when you're struggling, if this is the business that you love, what are you going to go do to put you in a position to go have more conversations? So if you don't love going out into public and getting involved in conversations, it's going to be a long business, right? We run a leads team here, which is kind of like an amplifier to get you started, but it's not the long-term answer. You've got to love going out into public and meeting people and having conversations. And so when I say enjoy the journey, that's what I'm talking about. If you're a person that loves to do those things, this doesn't work. There might be some dry spells. There's going to be some months where you don't sell as many houses, but you're just going about your day. You go to the gym, you talk to some people there. You go to the coffee shop, you talk to some people there. Maybe you go out for lunch, you talk to some people there. In the afternoon, you do something else. You talk to a couple people there. You can't do all of those things and not do business. So if that's just what you enjoy, it just makes this business a lot easier. And I want to make sure, we're very clear on what it takes to be successful in this business. If you're, a little bit quieter, then okay, right? So we've got some people, I'm not going to call out, but I've got one person in particular that I'm thinking about in the call that is not that, but that has been a stalwart in the business for a long time. So there are other ways to do it, right? But you better be really good at your email marketing. You better be really good at your social media. You better be really good at postcards. You're going to have to do something else. If going out and talking to people isn't your jam, then some other way, right? So maybe just, hey, you know what? I never leave my house, but I love posting on social. And that is going to be the way that I talk to a lot of people. Right? So there's some other ways to do it. I just think generally the easiest way to do it is just you're the person that just goes about your day and has more conversations. any other thoughts on this topic, or somebody that's just kind of struggling with it, or somebody just wants to add?
Steve?
Yeah.
Um, So I went to a Larry Kendall Ninja installation several years ago out in Colorado, and he's just beyond brilliant. And he was talking to this point for people thinking when they get in the business that there's only one path to the success, and how it's really all about you being authentically who you are, and using those gifts and talents just to the fullest, and just in a very organic and authentic way. And so he spoke specifically about a young man who had joined the company who was just doing an amazing amount of business. And so Larry wanted to pick his brain and find out sort of what is your secret sauce. And so he was asking him about, are you doing these postcards, and are you doing this, whatever the things that you think you have to do in order to be successful. And he said, Larry, no, I'm really not doing any of those things. That doesn't feel comfortable to me. That just does. And so he said, well, talk to me, tell me what it is that you do. Because the guy couldn't put his finger on what was giving him the success. Well, it turns out that this guy absolutely loves sports, and he's got sort of this network of friends, and he and his wife would host these gatherings at their home, that's set up for sporting events, and just have people over to watch these events on their big screen or whatever. And they of course are having food and beverage and all this. And this was where all of his business was coming from. Just him being able to enjoy a Sunday afternoon with his friends, being casual, just talking life, and just living. And he said, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. So it was just from hosting these events. So I think that it's really important for people, not for realtors, not to get into a mindset of that they have to be pigeonholed into doing these exact things, that this is the way to do it. Because if you engage with people at your, like, we know a man who he got all of his business through his through church, when he started in real estate. So if you are in some sort of a group where you're just so organically present and authentic, that that's great. It's whatever your jam is, it's who you are. It's just pouring yourself into who you are and those relationships that are the most comfortable for you.
I'd love to hear, does anybody have just something like a just a little bit different outside the box that, hey, you've gotten a deal or two from? They're like, didn't even realize I could, I was just kind of doing it because I enjoy it, and I've gotten a deal or two from it. Just to maybe just spark some ideas for people. But you want to just share? Just think about where your past few deals have come from. Where are they coming from? Something that we haven't mentioned yet.
Can I chime in, even
Yeah,
though I'm
Kate.
not an intern? Because I mean, I get deals too, right? I have sweatshirts that say Garvey Law, hats, things like that. And you, it's amazing how many times people are like, "Oh, what kind of law do you do?" Which turns into, "Oh, hey, I'm looking for a real estate attorney." So sometimes even not even really trying, just simply wearing a shirt that has your brand on it has gotten me a lot of deals, which has led to other deals as well. And you're not, like, honestly not even trying them in the grocery store, grocery shopping. So wear those real shirts, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's one of the easiest ways. I remember standing in line at like a 99, my Century 21 logo, and somebody's like, "Oh, you do real estate?" Yep. Flew off. I thought I'd never heard from the guy. I gave him a business card, didn't get his number, critical mistake, and a guy actually called me back. So um, it just sparks up. I was at the gym the other day wearing my real stuff. The new guy in town, he had just moved from California. His best friend is with Real. She runs a team out there. So we chatted that up. And it looks like the in-law might need something to sell out here. So just going to the gym in the morning. I didn't even talk to the guy. He talked to me. So just putting yourself out there, wearing the gear definitely can help in this business. Kate, did you have anything just legal wise that you wanted to chat about? We got a few minutes left, and it is a legal Tuesday here.
It is a legal Tuesday. I actually have an interesting story, but I'm going to save it until after we close because I don't want to jinx anything.
Okay.
So I'll hold on to that. But I had an interesting back and forth with an agent this morning, actually. And it's about like scheduling closings. I know every attorney does it differently. But I think, especially if your clients are buying, selling first day, to verify with all parties involved when this is closing. I happen to send out an invite and I include the agents and the lenders and the other side and everybody so they can see that I at least got it scheduled. And I don't do that until everybody's on board and we know that we're closing. Because sometimes I think that people, just because we have a clear to close doesn't necessarily mean that we are closing on that date. Sellers may need another day, buyers may need another day. I have a deal right now where my buyer is selling in New York and I had to orchestrate with the New York attorney. So this is kind of just a reminder that when you're closing, make sure you verify, with your attorney, with everybody, that it is in fact actually closing, and don't just make assumptions. Just because people will start booking, moving trucks and all that kind of stuff, and it can be, costly to your client if they're not closing on the day that they thought they would. So I guess that's just kind of my reminder, just to verify with everybody that it is in fact closing.
Yeah, well, you dropped a little nugget in there that I think we take for granted as agents. Like the sellers, they could have movers, they could have packers, they could be renting a truck. Like all of those things, if we get the date wrong, now they got to make all those calls again and change all of those things.
Mhm.
Right? So as early on in the process as possible, working with all the parties, like Kate's saying, to just set a date so that then the sellers, it just takes a little bit of stress off of them that they can then line up all of those people. So just be cognizant. It's a lot of work from the sellers, depending on how much they are depending on services versus doing it all on their own. And then still setting the expectation with the sellers and the buyers, it could move a day.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, we're a week out. Talk to all parties. Looks like we're good for next Thursday morning, 10 o'clock. Let's line everything up. I'm just letting you know, something could come up and we could have to move it back a day, up a day. Who knows? So always setting that expectation that it could move.
Yes.
Anybody have a story around that or something else to think about on a closing date, setting a date, what you're scheduling?
I can
And
share
just-
something.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kate.
That's right, Adam. I also think too, when you're rescheduling, if you have to do an extension, if you're rescheduling for the end of the month or something, be prepared for an attorney to be like, I've said it before, hey, I'll do my best, but I have 8 closings technically scheduled for the 30th. You know what I mean? Just be cognizant of the closing dates too, that you're pushing it to. It's not the end of the month. It's not a long weekend, things like that. Just because, we're busy too. And although we want to accommodate everybody, we can't always, especially if it's towards the end of the month, because as we know, the end of the month in real estate is a little crazy.
My advice around that one, and then I'll let you go, Adam, is Thursdays versus Fridays. That way there, because the worst thing is you're scheduled for a Friday, it doesn't happen, and now the weekend gets lost, and now we're moving it to a Monday. So I always liked Thursdays, so that way there, if we do have a delay, it gets pushed to Friday, and I still can get my clients in for the weekend. So just something to consider there. Look at the calendar, look at holidays, etc. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, just don't pick Thanksgiving as a Thursday. In all seriousness, though, definitely watch out for those 3-day weekends, and don't assume that the attorney can move it a day, right? So, like Kate said, if she's got 8, getting that 9th closing in could be a big deal. But where I was going was, I am definitely, I would probably make a T-shirt. I am the pessimistic realtor. And I'd never say it's a closing day. I say it's the date we're all shooting for, and I can pretty much guarantee you it's going to change, right? Guess what happens if it doesn't change? You look like a hero, and if it does, you set expectations properly. So I tell clients, the sellers, it will change, right? Because it's probably going to. But the big thing with the moving trucks is I let them know, hey, one of the most important questions you can ask the moving company is, how much is the overnight storage fee, right? So what can happen is, right, it's supposed to be closing day. Let's say you did it on a Friday, they load up your truck, they do the walkthrough, everything is good, and there's some kind of final quality assurance check at the lender, and now you can't close, right? I've heard prices as much as $500 and $750 a night to literally keep that truck of your seller's belongings overnight, in their facility, right? So just something to be aware of is, number one, how flexible are you when I need to change my date? And number two, if closing gets delayed a day, what's the deal with holding my contents, right? So just wanted to share that story because $500 a night adds up quite fast.
Anybody want to chime in? Anybody have a client recently you personally used one of these storage boxes, where you get the box and then they move it for you, so you just load the box? Anybody want to chime in on that as an experience versus the moving truck?
I mean, I can chime in personally.
Yep.
When I moved, we got it wasn't a pod, but a similar thing. And that actually, as the seller, helped me because I had it for, the few weeks so I can move things as I was cleaning out rooms and, whatnot. It helped actually make my moving experience a lot less stressful. I think the one thing that I've experienced as an attorney with those is, if things do get moved, where do you put this pod, right? 9 times out of 10, you can draft a hold harmless that says we can leave the pod in somebody's driveway, kind of thing. But sometimes that's not allowed. So that's just something to think about too. What do we do with the pod if things get moved? But I do think that they're useful.
Anybody else want to just share an experience with a pod? Hey, my clients gave me this feedback, or I just have this feedback, or just something to keep in mind, or here's a good use case for it, or here's when not to use it, or here's what else can go wrong with it. All right, nobody wants to speak about pods. Maybe we're not.
I can share a little bit, Steve. I mean, basically the way I looked at it when we did the pods was, every time they touch it, they charge you, right? So just to get it to your house, they're going to charge you $175. Just to move it from here to their storage facility, if you don't know where you're going, $175. To move it from the storage facility back to your house, $175. And that's all on top of the monthly fee that they're going to charge you, whether it's climate controlled storage or outside storage. So the good news is that it's very easy to understand what your costs are going to be by month. And obviously, if you have an idea of what you're doing, like if you're moving from house to house, it's going to be less than if you're moving from a house to house and have a week gap, because they need to send it to their storage facility, drop it. Every time basically a truck's got to pick it up, they're going to charge you. So, I mean, from a convenience factor, they're fantastic, but they're definitely expensive.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what I heard, when Kate was making the description of her experience, right? Like, it's a nightmare when you've got a moving truck and you got to load it all up and you're beat, and now you got to you get to the other place and now you got to unload everything, and now there's crap everywhere, versus if you can afford it. So just, again, another tool in the tool belt to make sure your clients are aware, hey, if you don't want to go through that hassle, it's going to cost you a couple extra bucks, but we can just leave this pod and you guys can unload it at your pace, right? Maybe on the first day, it's a long day. Just get the stuff in there so you have a place to sleep. And then you guys can kind of chip away at it. So just, make sure your clients understand the option. Any final thoughts on the pods or moving trucks or closing date? All right. Cool. Well, hopefully there's a couple of nuggets for you guys today. Appreciate everybody jumping in and sharing. Kate, as always, thanks for joining us on Tuesdays. We'll do this again tomorrow. Have yourselves a fantastic Tuesday. And yeah, hopefully you guys are, those of you who are still negotiating deals can put a couple together from your weekend work. All right, take care. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
Thank you. Bye.